Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And the 2029 season, at least the first 2 months of it, are going pretty well for our Rockies so far. Unfortunately, we are 6.5 games behind the Dodgers, who have the best record in baseball in the National League West. But we are in the number one wild card spot in the National League as we sit here on June 1st, trying to make the playoffs for a fourth consecutive season. Season going pretty well so far. Third in the league in runs scored, second in the league in runs against. So not a lot to complain about. We'll be dealing with some injuries to the pitching staff for our foreseeable future. Ryan Walker's been out for a couple weeks with shoulder inflammation. Braden Nett's going to end up missing over a month due to a hamstring strain that he suffered while he was changing his car's tire. And recently we got utility man Cole Carrig back after he missed about a month and a half. So a few injuries this year, nothing crippling so far. Clearly, if we keep playing at a winning percentage around 600, would anticipate that we'll guide this team back to the playoffs. This episode, we're going to try to keep things going well in the month of June. We've had a winning record every month of the season thus far, including even a 2-1 record in March when the season first started. And when we get to the midway point of the season, late this month or early next month, we will take a look at our player statistics and our roster in a little more depth. Obviously, you've got a good summary of that here on this screen that we've got here to start off this episode. And ultimately, we'll start putting a plan together for what we might want to do in the trade market to help ensure that we do get this team back to the playoffs and hopefully put ourselves in a position where we can actually win a playoff series, because although we have been in the playoffs each of the last 3 years, we've been bounced in our first round postseason series each time, unfortunately. And there's one player on the trade block right now that I think could be incredibly helpful to us. That's the veteran left fielder Ian Happ, switch-hitting outfielder who's solid defensively, decent speed, and still has a pretty solid bat. More than solid this year with a 129 WRC plus through his first 192 at-bats. He is 35 years old, fragile physically, and making $19.4 million, which would normally be a massive problem for us, given that we essentially have no money to spend to improve this team at this point. But fortunately, when he was traded last offseason from Arizona to Seattle, Arizona retained all of his contract, so won't cost any money at all to bring him on board, which would be very helpful. As you might imagine, though, the price for him right now is pretty high. Only Adail Amador, Gus Nieves, Ezekiel Tovar, or Kevin Roberts Jr., who's one of the top prospects in our organization, would get the transaction done. Although Happ would certainly improve our team, don't necessarily view any of those options as being a price that we'd be willing to pay right now. But depending on how things look over the next 2 months as we get closer to the trade deadline, if Happ remains on the market, certainly something that we'll continue to investigate. And the start of June's been going reasonably well. A 5-3 record. I just took the first 2 games of a 3-game road trip to the Padres. Unfortunately, did just suffer another injury. Marcelo Meyer, our second baseman, going to be out a couple of weeks. So we've called Ozzie Albies, who we signed to a minor league deal, back up to the majors to fill in as a utility infielder. We'll see if we can kind of keep rolling here despite the small amount of injuries that we're dealing with. And unfortunately, after winning the final game of the series in San Diego to sweep that series, we've had a brutal homestand. 5 straight losses to the Brewers and the Nationals have us at 39-30 as we sit here midway through the month of June. We've actually slipped to the second wild card spot. Still 3 up on the final wild card spot, so not in a horrible position, but clearly 5 straight losses is not optimal. Also, Braden Nett suffered a setback, another 2 to 3 weeks until he's ready to play again. Fortunately, the youngster we brought up, Isaiah Shader, who's getting some consistent starting experience in the rotation, has been pretty solid for us so far. We'll talk more about him in another week and a half or so when we get to the midway point of the season. But thus far, things are going decently with Mr. Shader, who's one of the top pitching prospects in our organization, even though he was not a premium draft pick several years ago. And you can't get much worse than an 0-7 homestand. So brutal result against Milwaukee and the Nationals over the past week. Still 7.5 behind the Dodgers, who have also lost 2 in a row. Only 2 games up on the final wild card spot at this point. Certainly hope we can stabilize things over the next week and a half or so until we get to the end of the month of June. Also have some dissension in the clubhouse. Ryan Feltner, who we signed to a minor league contract, is very upset about his role on the team. He's a member of the starting rotation, and he expects us to play him that way. Feltner does have a 2-1 record, but don't necessarily know that that's optimal for a guy with 6 relief appearances. Put up a 5.28 earned run average for us, although he has been slightly above replacement level. Not really sure, other than the fact that he has 2 wins in 15 1/3 innings pitched, of why he is so adamant that he becomes a starting pitcher. But he can easily be replaced if his attitude continues. And the brutal stretch that we faced here in the middle of June continues. 3 straight losses on the road to the Angels and the Brewers. So the record has slipped all the way to 39-35. We are still second in the division, but certainly 10 straight losses stinks. And we're now only 1 game up on the final wild card spot. So things could not be going worse on the field. Fortunately, though, Marcelo Meyer is back, and hopefully having him back will spark the offense a bit, because it's been pretty brutal over this last week and a half or so. And yes, if you haven't noticed over the years, if you're a regular and consistent viewer, I am vengeful and spiteful. I shopped Ryan Feltner. Unfortunately, the only thing we can get for him is a 23-year-old reliever who's got a horrible personality, but that, I believe, shows the lack of value among other general managers as far as what Mr. Feltner brings to the table. So we'll continue to keep him on the team for the time being, but unless we have a lot of pitching injuries going forward, I think we're going to be looking for a way to jettison him. And I know that he is a bit of a folk hero in the course of this playthrough with the 3 really solid seasons he had for us as a start, but we saved him from the scrap heap this offseason. He hasn't pitched well, and he's complaining about his role, so he certainly is in a precarious position with the general manager at this point. I don't think we're at a Rafi Devers kind of level with Boston over the course of the 2025 real baseball season, but Feltner is certainly not at the top of my list right now. And as we head into the final week in June, fortunately we salvaged the final 2 games in Milwaukee to split the series there, break the losing streak, although it's certainly pretty dispiriting that it ended up going to 11 games before we finally broke it. But a 41-36 record as we head into the final week of the month. 4 games in Philadelphia, finishing off this long road trip, and then we'll be back at home against the division rival Diamondbacks. And we made it to the midway point of the season with a 43-38 record, so on pace to win 86 games, which is exactly where we were last season. Ownership not pleased with the tough first half of the season, even though, as we've talked about, we're still in a wild card spot if the season were to end today. Also not happy that we haven't made any upgrades at first base. Disappointed in attendance. Uncertain about the coaching staff's cohesion, and not pleased with fan engagement. So at least in terms of the near term and our progress on the medium term goals, not really anything going very well so far. But as I said, we would be in the playoffs if the season were to end today. We'll sim ahead with today's game and tomorrow's game to get to July 1st, check where we are, and then we will do our roster review at that point. So after a disappointing month of June, we lost our final 2 games in the month when we were back at home against Arizona. So at this point, we have now lost 10 consecutive games at home, which is just an absolutely brutal stretch. The record's gone all the way down to 43-40, still second in the division, and 8 games behind the Dodgers is not horrible given how poorly we've been playing. You can see their winning percentage has dropped to .612 since the start of the month, and the Brewers, one of the team that's been beating up on us, now clearly have the best record in the National League, and they're a little bit better than the Red Sox for the best record in baseball. We are tied for the final wild card spot with the Phillies at this point, but only half a game up on the surging Cubs and the also surging Reds, who have won 3 and 4 games in a row, respectively. As we sit here on July 1st, Gus Nieves, third in the National League in his second season in home runs. Chandler Simpson continues to lead the league in steals. And those are the only 2 players on our team right near the top of the leaderboard. Taking a look at the team statistics, that 10-18 record in June was brutal. The long losing streak in the middle of the month certainly didn't help. We've been unlucky overall. Our 43-40 record is 3 games worse than Pythagorean expectations. We've slipped to being tied for 4th in the National League in runs scored, and we're also 4th in runs allowed. So certainly would think that a team that's basically in the top quarter of the league in both offense and pitching would be better than just 3 games over 500. But our record is what it says it is, and we'll have to get better going forward. The offense, kind of middle of the pack in most categories, except for extra base hits where we're number 1. Thank you, Coors. Pitching staff generally still in the top half of the league in most categories, except for home runs allowed. Once again, thank you, Coors. And walks, where we're 12th in both of those categories. Very good defense and good with the steals, although our base running ranking 8th in the National League has slipped to being pretty average relative to the rest of the senior circuit. Taking a look at our pitching staff, we mentioned 4th overall in the league in terms of runs allowed, which playing half our games in Coors we will certainly take. Jesus Luzardo has slowed down a bit after a great start, still has already matched what he did last season with 10 wins, 10-4 record, 3.46 ERA, and a 1.9 WAR. So it looks like Luzardo's 3rd season in Colorado could end up being the best that we've gotten from our ace. Pablo Lopez, his 2nd season in Colorado, pretty similar to a year ago. The 8-4 record certainly better than the 10-13 record he had a year ago. But his ERA is kind of in the same range, BABIP in the same range, and he's kind of on target for a similar WAR to what he had a year ago. He's been on the trade block. We've tried to shop him at times throughout the season, not surprisingly, making $20 million this year and set to make $20 million next year. Not a lot of interest in Mr. Lopez. Bobby Miller, 4-4 with a 3.36 ERA. Main issue with him is just his stamina. Not going to get a ton of decisions because he generally struggles to go 5 innings. But he has been pretty productive when he's had the ball. 1.3 WAR as we sit here just past the midway point of the season. I mentioned that Isaiah Shater has been doing fine as a starter. The record on the year, only 1-3 with 6 starts among his 9 games, but he does have a 3.83 ERA. Been slightly above replacement level since we brought him on board. Taking a look at the pitching splits as a starter, I don't know. There we go. 1-3 record with a 4.15 ERA as a starter. So again, he's pitched a little worse of late. The 8 home runs allowed, certainly not optimal, but he's been respectable, and he's a guy who we still think can get better. So given that we're still in a playoff spot, if the season were to end right now, probably we'll keep rolling him out there. Another reason that we'll probably keep rolling him out there is that our number 5 starter, Jordan Hicks, has been brutal. 1-6 record with an ERA of over 5. Interestingly, that somehow still adds up to a 1.2 WAR. So I guess it hasn't been a complete disaster with him, but certainly would hope that as of July 1st, your number 5 starter on a potential playoff team would have more than one victory. Wellington Herrera took over as our closer when Ryan Walker got hurt, and we've kept him in that role since Walker came back. The left-hander 2-4 with 7 saves, 3.50 ERA with 55 strikeouts over 43 2/3 innings. The issue with him this year has been the walks. He's allowed 28 walks this year. Still has put up a 1.3 WAR for us, expecting him to be an important reliever for years to come. Walker got back from that injury not too long ago, 1-4 with 9 saves, but an ERA of close to 7 this year. Allowed 5 home runs and 14 walks in just 26 innings pitched. Gregory Soto, good, a 2 ERA over 27 innings pitched with 33 strikeouts, more than a win above replacement working out of the pen. And the right-hander, Gregory Santos, 2.82 ERA over 38 1/3 innings pitched, although he has technically been a bit below replacement level. Moving on to some of the middle relievers, the lefty Drew Summers, 3.64 ERA over 29 2/3 innings. The walks, 16 in 29 2/3 innings, is not optimal. Bit higher pace of walks than he had a year ago, has been slightly below a replacement level pitcher, a little disappointing. Dre Jameson has been very good for us, 2.64 ERA and 60 strikeouts over 47 2/3 innings working out of the bullpen. Long relievers, we've talked about Feltner. He's pitched a bit better of late, 2-2 record, has a 4.43 ERA. He's been slightly above replacement level. And then the lefty Joe Rock, 3-2 record with an ERA of close to 5. He has been a bit below replacement level. Certainly could make an argument in my mind to move Summers into the rotation for Hicks. The concern there is that Bobby Miller is a very low stamina guy. I don't know how good I feel about having 2 low stamina guys. I think I might have said Drew Summers. I meant Dre Jameson. Don't know how I feel about having 2 low stamina guys in the rotation, but that may be something that we need to look into if Hicks continues to struggle, because honestly, Feltner and Rock have not really done anything so impressive that I'm all that excited to put either of them into the rotation for Hicks. That said, if Hicks struggles his next few starts, probably makes sense to make a change for change's sake. And clearly would be helpful when Braden Nett comes back, although unknown recovery from that hammy strain that he suffered over a month ago at this point. Changing the tire on his car. He was 2-2 with a 4.41 ERA. Certainly expect that when he is ready to come back, which hopefully won't be too far from now, that'll be an impetus to make a change in the rotation. I think at this point, unless Shader pitches real poorly between now and then, that it would be moving Hicks to the rotation, and then we'll have to figure out what we want to do in terms of a move with perhaps Mr. Feltner or one of the other relievers. Turning now to our position players and the offense that's tied for fourth in the league in runs scored. Catcher Drew Romo, 243 average, 6 homers, 29 ribbies, is 5 for 5 stealing bases. Only an 89 WRC plus this year after being basically a league average offensive player a year ago, but still has put up a 2.4 WAR. The now two-time defending National League Gold Glove winner remains a premier defensive catcher and very helpful to our pitching staff. Charlie Condon has gotten a pretty consistent playing time over the first half of the year. Unfortunately, hasn't done much with that playing time, hitting 212, 12 doubles, 3 triples, and 7 homers in 212 at-bats. So a 77 WRC plus, slightly below replacement level. Love the fact that he's got some untapped potential, according to our scout. But at 26 years old, the time to start realizing some of that potential and producing better at the major league level is definitely here. A reason we continue to play him, though, is that Ian Petrutz has not been impressive either. 206 average with 6 home runs in 131 at-bats, 86 WRC plus, slightly below replacement level. So with similar-ish disappointing production from those two, we'll go with the homegrown guy that we think has a higher ceiling if all goes well. Austin Wells, 279 average this year, kind of continues his tradition over his 4 years in Colorado of bad year, good year, bad year, good year. And fortunately, we're in good year mode right now. 15 doubles, 14 homers, and 44 ribbies in 247 at-bats. So a 126 WRC plus and a 1.5 WAR for the former Yankee, who is now our backup catcher as well as our DH against right-handed pitching. Marcelo Meyer had that trip to the IL. He's basically been a league average offensive player this year, hitting 245 and 216 at-bats. Does have 23 doubles and a 1.5 WAR on the season, so he has been productive for us. Adail Amador, also an above-average offensive player with a 109 WRC+. He's put up a 1.7 WAR for us, hitting 256, 10 homers, and 13 steals midway through the season. So a nice offensive year for him. Jared Cerna in a cold snap now, hitting just 212 this year and 193 at-bats. He had been a pretty productive offensive player for us the last couple of seasons, but has been brutal this year with a 49 WRC plus on base percentage of just 274 midway through the season. Ezekiel Tovar having a really nice year, as he typically does for us. 281 average, 19 doubles, 19 homers midway through the season. Perfect 9 for 9 stealing bases, 127 WRC plus, and a 3.1 WAR for our all-star shortstop. Moving to the outfielders, Toshimi Masuda has the batting average up to 189. That says all you need to know about the start of his season. 5 homers and 10 ribbies in 95 at-bats. He has struck out 45 times, only walked 6 times. So a 63 WRC plus is about half of where he was a year ago, and he is below replacement level at this point, no longer a regular member of the starting lineup. Left fielder Chandler Simpson, talked about him leading the league with 44 stolen bases and extremely efficient, being caught stealing just twice. That said, the batting average has really dipped this year, just a 235 batting average, on base percentage below 300, 58 WRC plus. So some of the concerns about Simpson, given his below average eye, his well below average gap power, and his non-existent home run power, seem to be manifesting themselves a bit this season. Center fielder Brenton Doyle, who could be in his final year with us, making $10.3 million this year, going to be potentially headed to free agency, If we think about a contract extension, he's looking for $17 million a year over 6 seasons. As long as much as we respect his excellent defense with 4 Gold Glove awards, I think it's going to be hard for us to bring him back at that type of price. Batting average just .238 this year is a perfect 14 for 14 stealing bases, but only an 84 WRC plus, although he still does have a 1.7 WAR for us. That great defense in center field and his efficiency on the base paths certainly helping there. Cole Carrig spent some time on the IL, hitting just a .163, but he has only had 49 at-bats thus far this season. The WRC plus of 22 is certainly sickly. One guy who doesn't have sickly numbers, though, is the reigning National League Most Valuable Player, Gus Nieves, not having quite as impressive a year as his rookie/MVP season a year ago after we signed him as an international free agent out of Cuba. But as we sit here midway through the season, .281 batting average, 20 homers and 50 ribbies, 137 WRC plus, close to a win above replacement level. So certainly hoping that he'll be more productive with the bat in the second half of the season. But given the way the rest of our outfielders look offensively, certainly no logical scenario in which Mr. Nieves is not going to be getting very consistent playing time as our cleanup hitter. And we've got about a week and a half until we'll be at the draft, final home game against Arizona to finish off the series. Then we'll have 3 at home against Chicago and 4 at home against the Dodgers before an off day next Monday. And then we'll start a series in San Diego before we get to draft day. Hopefully we can play better and get back to our winning ways in this month of July. And unfortunately, things not going well in the early stages of the month. Lost 3 out of 4 at home to the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. We've got the 4 games left with the Dodgers, who we are now 8.5 games behind. Still in second place, but we are now half a game out of the final wild card spot. So things are spiraling out of control for our Rockies very quickly here over the last few weeks. Only 1 game over 500 at this point. Good news is that Braden Nett is finally ready to come back from that injury that's kept him out for, I believe, about a month at this point after he changed his tire. So hopefully we'll be able to figure out a path back to the majors for him. Yeah, it was over a month ago, so probably we'll give him a rehab start in AAA before bringing him back up and having to make some roster decisions. And finally, some small bit of good news. We took 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers, although we did lose the final game of the series when we were going for a sweep. So as we sit here on July 9th, just 6.5 behind the Dodgers, but a game and a half out of the final wild card spot. So definitely has not been a very fruitful episode for us in terms of our record. And unfortunately, we lost our first game against the Padres to drop our record to 4-5 here in the month of July. So definitely going to have a lot of work to do over the next 3 weeks as we approach the trade deadline. With the way we started this episode, certainly expected that we were going to be better than 47-45 here on draft day. It's just been a brutal stretch for this team, and kind of the weird thing is that we're relatively healthy right now. I think everyone's back from their injuries, but we still are just playing our worst baseball of the year over the past several weeks. And as we get ready to begin the draft here, not going to be picking till number 24 overall, but we will have a supplemental first-round pick this year from the departure of Dustin May. So hoping that we can bolster the team, particularly our infielders, if there's some good options with our 2 first-round picks this year, and ultimately 6 picks in the first 5 rounds of this draft. And we've simmed ahead to our pick in the draft, number 24 overall. Still, at least according to our scout, some relatively high ceiling players on the board. We mentioned in a perfect world we'd love to find some infielders. There are a couple of them. Second baseman Angel Vea, really good contact and gap power hitter with weak home run power and weak eye. Certainly a profile we've talked a lot about over the past few seasons. Seem to be a lot of these guys in the game. Don't love his defensive skill. Don't really love the lack of speed. Also a bit older at 19 years old. Don't think he's going to be the answer for us. Right fielder Bob Smith, very well-balanced bat for this player. Potentially some really good traits. Could be above average to well above average at everything offensively. Doesn't have a ton of speed, not a good bunter, but does have high work ethic and baseball IQ. Definitely looks like a first base, corner outfield DH type. But he probably does have the bat to support that type of role. Shortstop Andrew Jones, potentially outstanding contact hitter. The gap power, home run power, and the eye are all kind of in the average to slightly below average range for a major leaguer if he reaches his full potential. Interestingly, his bonus demand isn't all that high, although his financial ambition allegedly is. Looks like a respectable defensive player. Don't know as a first-round pick whether he really makes sense, despite the fact that infield is a big position of need for our organization. Catchell Michael Girard, or Mike Girard, very interesting profile with outstanding catcher blocking and framing and an average arm. Looks like a useful-ish major league bat. Not a ton of speed, not a good bunter, below average gap power, and below average eye if he reaches his full potential, but slightly above average contact and good home run power to go with that glove is certainly interesting. First baseman Jim Fudge, great power and great eye potential, also durable. The contact and the strikeouts are the potential issues for the young left-handed hitting first baseman out of Toronto. John Bentley, right fielder, pretty well-balanced bat, looks like a competent corner outfielder. Home run power is the potential more significant issue for the switch-hitting 19-year-old. Despite his name being John, his nickname is Rowdy Richard. And the highest ceiling prospect among the position players, at least according to our scout, catcher Luke Mandigo, potentially great contact hitter with a good eye. The gap power and the home run power not great, and looks like a average-ish defensive catcher. I think on a first trip through these players, the two most interesting to me are probably the right fielder Bob Smith, great personality, and looks like the bat could be very interesting. And then I do think that the potentially outstanding defensive catcher Mike Girard is also someone that I would strongly consider. And looking at some slightly lower-rated position players, there's two who are really interesting. Bobby Garcia would be kind of exactly what we're looking for. A really solid potential defensive infielder with a bat that we think could be very interesting as well. Unfortunately, he's impossible to sign in a year where we're already basically have no money available. So I just don't think that makes sense for us to do. I don't think there's any realistic way to get the type of money that we're going to need to sign him. He's likely going to be looking for more than our entire draft budget, and we're already low on cash. Another guy, though, who might be able to help us, and I would probably consider here, is Matt Waters. His ceiling not quite as high as some of the others, but we do have high scouting accuracy on him, which we certainly don't have with everybody. Does have high adaptability and work ethic. The glove is a usable infield glove. He could be a decent third baseman. I don't know that he really has the bat to ultimately truly be a third baseman, but given that we kind of just need some infielders in the organization, I don't think Waters is a horrible guy to consider here. And you may be wondering why I spent a little more time than I might usually do going through some of the options at position players. It's because less than a week ago in game time, I really screwed things up. So I am unlikely to take a top pitcher in this draft. What happened was, and if there's a way that I could have avoided this other than not being a stupid idiot, I would love to hear about it in the comments section down below. But I had gone to scout about 20 pitchers who my scout thought had a 65 or higher potential for one final time before the draft. So I had clicked on all of those players to scout them. And then I noticed that probably through just poor clicking over the last, so essentially I can duplicate it for you. I went to I'm not going to totally duplicate it for you because that would totally ruin things again. So I came to the screen that looked like this and was ready to go and just request scouting reports for all of the players, as I mentioned, with 65 and higher potential. But then I noticed that through kind of poor clicking or something over the course of my previous scouting, that I had duplicated a player, the top player in the draft, or at least the, I guess, alphabetically first player with 80 potential in the draft had been duplicated. So with all of the top prospects among pitchers clicked, I clicked on that player and clicked to delete him, thinking that I would quickly delete that duplicate, but because I had highlighted everybody else, I deleted all of the top pitching prospects out of the draft, which made me very upset. Once I calmed down from my stupidity and carelessness, what I decided to do was duplicate all of the 60 rated players and then go in and kind of make them a little bit better than their current ratings, because I had just deleted all of the higher potential guys out there and change all of their names. But you can tell who those players are because I have low or very low scouting accuracy on all of them at this point. And just in the interest of fairness, I'm not going to take any of those players that I just created. You can see we still don't even have a scouting report yet on the cleverly named Ryan, who was my slightly enhanced version of Matt Ryan. So essentially, I'm not going to let myself take any of these top players. Ryan, you can see, I guess we do have very low scouting accuracy on him just when he got created, I guess, but nothing since then. And you can see even all of these guys with low scouting accuracy. I've picked up one scouting report since I screwed things up. I guess it was only 5 days ago in game time. But I'm just going to let the AI for the computer teams decide what they want to do with all of these players that I just created. So essentially, unfortunately, that means that in this very important draft for us, where we've got two first-round picks, not a lot of very credible options that I can consider for pitchers. Two guys out there. One is Jamar Mulvey, who we do have average scouting accuracy on. Looks like a potentially interesting arm, incredible stamina, and good at holding on runners. Potential four-pitch arsenal, but he's got a lot of work to do on his changeup and his curve to get there. We think his stuff and his control could be really good. Movement only average. Don't like the low loyalty and the low baseball IQ, but the left-hander is someone that we'll consider. The other guy to think about is a 22-year-old reliever, Mickey Burke. Mixed personality, high loyalty, work ethic, low financial ambition, but also low leadership to go with that. 85 stuff. Actually, Mickey Burke is someone that it's so confusing to know now, because I was just like randomly making players. Yeah, but Mickey Burke is a guy. I saw the average scouting accuracy, and I was like, oh, he must be a guy. But he was a guy that somehow we got the report back on that first day, and then I instantly put in another report, which we got back. But no team for him. So that's a clear sign that he was one of the players that I just created. I actually need to check and make sure that Jamar Mulvey wasn't one of them too. Yeah, he's another guy. So essentially, I can't draft any of these top pitchers. So when we start getting down into these guys with 60 potential, these are primarily players that I have been scouting throughout, although as you can see, Ricardo Rellenos is, I think, the lowest rated of the players that I duplicated. But essentially, because of my own stupidity, I am going to not allow myself to take any of these fictitious, not that all of these guys aren't fictitious, but these fictitious pitchers that I just created a week ago. I wanted there to be enough pitchers in the draft pool, and I wanted there to be some pitchers with over 60 potential. But we will not be taking anyone that I created here. So kind of stinks, but it's my own stupidity that put us into this position through my poor clicking. So essentially that means we're going to be going for position players with our first two picks. So we'll have to spend some time offline figuring out what I might want to do. Obviously went through some of the most interesting prospects among the hitters with you, and we'll go back and kind of get the list back up, since I'm not going to take any of these pitchers. I like the catcher Gerard. I think he could be a very interesting asset to bring on board. As I said, the right fielder Bob Smith to me looks like the most complete hitter that's still left in this draft. Admittedly, that exceptional gap power is going to be largely wasted because he's so slow. And then I am intrigued by the young shortstop Matt Waters. He's the guy who kind of most fits a need for us. I think it's a little early to take him with the 24th pick, but if he's still on the market with that supplemental pick, that could be a way to go. And looking at the mock draft, it appears that we've got time with all of these guys. Andrew Jones, the shortstop that I mentioned earlier, that I'm kind of meh on defensively and meh on with the bat, simply because it's just a profile that we've got a lot of at this point. Really good contact hitters who kind of aren't great at anything else. is the highest rated player available. Bob Smith projected to go very early in the second round, so it wouldn't be horrible to think about him now. Gerard is actually, for whatever reason, projected to be a third rounder, as is Matt Waters, the shortstop that we like. So it's not inconceivable we could get two of these guys with our first two picks. And I guess it's not inconceivable that we could end up with all three of them. Again, I'm going to spend some more time on this draft pool offline before making a decision, but kind of shown you the top options available among the position players. And although we're going to be out on all of the good pitchers and top prospects in this draft, I did take a look offline at the most interesting of the real prospects that we could consider taking. And there's two that I like. Unfortunately, they both have flaws. Michael Backstrom, 22-year-old out of Eastern Illinois. You can see he's a guy that we have been scouting very steadily over recent times. Potentially 3 major league quality pitches. Think his stuff could be outstanding with solid movement and control. Mixed personality, could throw 100 miles an hour. The issue is he's only got 30 stamina, so we'd have to get really lucky with him in the development lab for him to turn into a starter. But certainly somebody as the draft moves along that I might consider picking up. The other guy is even more interesting, and that's Michael Pearson, 18-year-old committed to Stanford. Huge bonus demand, $7 million. But almost a perfect personality. Think he'll be throwing in triple digits. Think his stuff could be well above average, movement and control above average, although clearly he's got a lot of work to do on the stuff and the control in particular. But a potential 5-pitch arsenal if everything came along. The concern is that although he's got that 5-pitch arsenal, his stamina of 35 is very borderline for a starter. Again, he's young enough that we could hope for some luck in the development lab and maybe be able to stretch him out a bit. But with that $7 million demand, he's also just not a guy who really works for us this year. I think if he lasts till like the 3rd or 4th round, I almost just have to take a flyer on him. But financially, we're just in a brutal spot right now. The only reasonable way for us to try to continue to compete with this team, which granted at 47 and 45 may not be the right decision, but the only way to try to remain competitive and then also open up some money would be to trade away Lopez, who, as we talked about, having a similar season to a year ago, 8-6 now with the ERA in the mid-4s and a 1.2 WAR. But with the money that he is making, I tend to think there's still not going to be a lot of demand for him. Yeah, nobody offers a single player in return for him. And even if we were to keep half of his money, and again, we're already halfway through the season, so that really only saves us $5 million-ish, nobody offering a single player in return. So as intriguing as some of those higher-priced players in the draft are to me, I just don't think it's the year where we can realistically do anything with any of them, unfortunately. So I think we're just in a situation where we're going to have to suck it up and go after one of the position players. So as we sit here on July 11th, the season is spiraling, not spiraling out of control, but certainly not trending well, as we wouldn't be in the playoffs at this point if the season ended today. And just not feeling great about things in general, given that because of our stupidity, we're also going to be in a position where we can't really pick up a pitcher in this draft when if I hadn't been stupid and deleted all the top pitchers, there probably would be someone that we could factor in. But I think between the catcher, the outfielder, and the shortstop, there's some interesting options for us to consider. If there was anyone else that we saw that piqued your interest, would love to hear about it in the comments. And until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.